In the end, what separates a man from a slave? Money? Power? No. A man chooses. A slave obeys. You think you have memories. A farm. A family. An airplane. A crash. And then this place. Was there really a family? Did that airplane crash? Or was it hijacked? Forced down. Forced down by something less than a man. Something bred to sleepwalk through life until they are activated by a simple phrase spoken by their kindly master. Was a man sent to kill, or a slave? A man chooses. A slave obeys. Come in. Stop, would you kindly? Would you kindly? Powerful phrase. Familiar phrase.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 70 of the video game podcast, PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Robin to my Batman, John. Now, John, there were some news items I wanted to talk to you about. Are you ready?
No.
You got your news hat on?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay, can we end the show then?
Sure. Yes, of course, Nick. Hit me with your news. Your hot button news items.
As we discussed last week, BlizzCon 2023 was this weekend. And as we also discussed, it was a lot of expansion talk. Nothing new there. But there were two things I wanted to talk about that came up there.
Okay.
The first one is Phil Spencer showed up.
Yeah.
He was in the opening ceremony, lording over his newly purchased company.
Yeah, I mean the Blizzard people need to pay homage and allegiance to him. He is now their new overlord, and didn't he come out to the Darth Vader music too, like the Empire March? Yeah. Of course he's gonna show up. You make the biggest purchase in industry history, and then you get your first big event in front of an audience, you're going to show up. So
yeah, and this is
expected.
Yeah, this is the first BlizzCon in person in 4 years too. So sure. It's kind of a big deal on a lot of fronts, but yeah, not shocking. He's a man of the people, Phil Spencer. So
he is. I think he's a little addicted to be in front of a camera, if I'm being honest. But maybe I would be too.
He definitely compared to his other. Comparisons, the Nintendo and Sony, for sure he's the most in front of a camera at any time. So
yeah, I only know what Jim Ryan looks like, obviously, because we're very into this ecosystem, but you never see Doug Bowser either, do you?
No.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, just when he was accepting those awards at the Game Awards last year.
The best name in the industry, and you don't even take advantage of it. Man.
All right, and then there is a new Diablo 4 expansion coming out called Vessel of Hatred. It is projected to come out later next year in 2024. But the interesting thing is it will have a new character class never before seen in Diablo.
Have they announced what that class is?
No, they have not said what it was.
What do you think it is?
Boy, I'm not the biggest Diablo fan, so I don't know. I think they've covered all the major ones.
Fairy.
It fits the theming.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they got the barbarian takes care of the big hulky guy. I mean, you could go even bigger and do like a golem or something. But
yeah, they got druids, they got wizards, they got witch doctors, paladins. I think they've covered most things. And
accountant.
Yeah, that's a very. I think it will fit in that dark, because Diablo 4, their emphasis on dark and gritty and returning to Diablo 2. So I would assume the class is going to be in some kind of way in that vein, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's just, as far as fantasy classes go, there's just a million. So
probably they're just going to do demon, angel. Like just it's gonna do just very good or very bad.
That's not a bad choice. Like something like some kind of like, have they had vampire? I know they just had a Season of Blood, but
I mean, I could just picture like a very what's the character in Baldur's Gate 3 who's like got the horns and looks like a devil or like a demon?
Kind of. Karlach.
Yeah, like somebody looking like that in the Diablo universe.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, that's actually a very good guess. But that's all I got. Again, BlizzCon was just full of expansions for WoW, expansions for Hearthstone, and a new character for Overwatch 2. Nothing exciting, just buy the books, no new game. Well, there was the World of Warcraft Rumble mobile game, but that barely qualifies as a new game announcement. But
I feel like if anything, this event was almost like a net negative. You know, the only articles or anything I've seen, you know, not looking for it, but just in passing, was basically people being very, very mad that to play the the World of Warcraft expansion early, you have to pay $90. It was like 3 days early or something like that. So, you know, we knew that those approaches were going to continue. Starfield saw massive successes with it, and so if you're mad about that, don't buy it early. I won't be buying it at all because I don't play that type of stuff. But
do they make you mad at all?
Does it make me mad? No.
It's kind of one of those weird things that it's like, we just talked last week about, you know, $10 for a fatality. You know, if people want to spend $30, and this is some way it helps for, because I think most people take this as, it's greed, not taking into the fact that development cost is more expensive than ever. And if this is a way to recoup some of that, you know, like, go for it.
And it might be a pretty solid, sneaky way to allow for better first day launches. Like if you get people to start dripping in, it allows you to, you know, tweak your servers and do what you need to do to make sure it's ready to rock and roll. So no, it doesn't bother me, but these games aren't typically for me, and I live in a world where I am
a lot of games this year did it, you know, it's like Starfield and others.
But you know, I constantly live in a world where I am repressing any urges to play video games when I want to anyway. So, you know, waiting a couple extra days is no big deal. You know, like we've said on the show, if they go God of War, you know, Atreus, whatever that standalone thing is, if they're like, hey, you can play it 2 days early for an extra 20, and be like, that might be tough. Especially only if I had like a day, right? If I had like a day that was open for me, I'd maybe take advantage of it. But no, not a big deal.
All right. And then another news item. This comes from Jason Schreier of Bloomberg. We have some layoffs at Bungie. They cut about 100 jobs from its staff of 1,200, which is, that's a huge studio. That's a beefy boy as far as studio numbers go. And this was due to their revenue being 45% below their projections for the year.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that high.
And then also, this led to delays. The Destiny 2 expansion, The Final Shape, is coming out in June 2024 now. And then Marathon, that live service game we saw earlier this year at the PlayStation Showcase, is getting pushed to 2025, which is not shocking to me either, with how little we saw of the game. So,
well, and on top of that, I mean, you know, they did get some feedback from some people playing Marathon, and it was not positive.
Yep.
You know, this whole thing, right? Like more industry or more companies shedding developers. It's sad. You never want to see people lose their job. It is interesting that this has been arguably the greatest year of video games ever, from a game standpoint, but also probably one of the worst years of video games ever for just layoffs and things like that. And a lot of it's downsizing from COVID and, you know, layover from that. But, you know, it's interesting, man, and we'll probably save this type of conversation for a future episode where we can talk a little bit more about it. But Bungie just seems to like be not as healthy as maybe we thought they were, or they're definitely trending downwards. And when you start to see reports coming out that, like, you know, The Last of Us Factions was put on ice because Bungie said it wasn't good enough, and then, you know, it's going to have to start creating this situation within the ecosystem where, like, developers would be like, well, why do they get a final say on our product? Like, you know, we're Naughty Dog, like, we don't think we can do it. And then if, like, they're laying off people, it just seems like there's so much bad news coming out of Sony Industries really right now. And I wonder if we're going to see a continuation of, like, kind of this, like, doom and gloom type feel, or, like, can we get some positivity talking now? Can we not talk about Connie Booth leaving and seemingly getting fired after 34 years? Can we talk about some of the games that are going to be coming as opposed to this stuff? But we'll save that for a future talk.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, obviously Bungie has just been working on Destiny 2. That's kind of been their only thing for so long. And the last expansion reviewed poorly. And this final shape was, it's supposed to be the big one. Like, I think the sunsetting of Destiny 2. So, it's, they even had to issue an apology. I'm sorry to their fans as Bungie, as Destiny 2 has continually kind of underperformed, and the Ouroboros of the community, where they love the game when an expansion launches, and then they grow to hate it, and then they'll build up to the next expansion. They get all high and love it, and the cycle repeats. So we're at the bottom of the cycle.
Yeah, I've seen it all the time online, where the sentiment that nobody hates Destiny like somebody who's put 3,000 hours into Destiny. So, it's a vicious cycle out there, man. And Sony pushing forward into the live service genre gives me a little bit of pause, but they'll be fine. I will figure it out.
Yeah, again, they're a huge studio, so it'll be interesting to see what they do next. But bummer, more people out of work. So. And then our final news item is show related, and that is, as you heard last week, John and I both completed Spider-Man 2. We want to do a bonus episode. We want to just talk about all the juicy spoilers we know. We want to talk about the future of the franchise, all of our favorite stuff in Spider-Man 2 that we couldn't because we didn't want to ruin it for you. Well, if you're listening this week, we will be launching our bonus episode. The plan is to publish it November 9th. So in a few days, you'll have an extra episode in the feed. And if you've completed Spider-Man 2, we'll recommend you check it out.
Yep. I mean, it's not going to be some crazy, hour and a half long discussion. We'll just go over our thoughts, what we think about favorite missions, favorite suits, that kind of stuff. Just keep it light, keep it fun.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yep. And if you have thoughts and you want to review it, feel free to reach out to any of our social media channels, and we'll happily read it on the show. If you have any questions for us about the game, if you have any thoughts about certain quests, do you have any favorites? Write it all in, and we'll read it out loud on the show. So, all right. Are you ready to get into the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so this is how the show works. John and I both bring up to 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic. It could be an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod, or a comment on our YouTube page at PlayStation Pals. Any of those things, we bring it and we talk about it. And I am kicking things off to continue the conversation last week about Alan Wake 2. Since we last talked, I have completed the game. It's done.
Yay.
It's amazing. It's a great game. Obviously, everything I said last week still holds. Some of the most memorable gaming moments. Why I think we like games like The Last of Us 2, because there's elements of the story that you'll remember forever. Mm-hmm. John and I play a lot of video games, and I'm sure a lot of story beats just get muddled in our brains. You don't seem to remember everything about every game you played. Like what happened in Hogwarts Legacy earlier this year? I don't know.
Some goblin.
Yeah.
He was mad about something.
Yep. I saved Hogwarts. That's all that matters. But games like this, games like The Last of Us Part 2, God of War, they'll have moments that will stick with you forever. You'll always remember certain moments, and this game certainly has it. Not to be said that the story does get into Inception levels of confusing. So if you've seen the movie Inception, that kind of how you really have to take all the concepts, the out of bodies, you
have to almost like compartmentalize everything.
Yeah. The thought about time and another worlds and how those other worlds run. It gets really confusing to keep track of it all. But I do think the game does an excellent job of keeping you interested in the story all the way to the conclusion.
Does the game do a nice job of allowing you to go into the Mind Palace and like if you're especially confused to kind of figure it out?
Yeah.
Or does it just lead to more confusion?
It does kind of wrap most of the story plots up through the Mind Palace, through just the general story, so you kind of get a bigger picture of everything that's going on. Okay. And again, this is a game running 2 concurrent narratives at once. Right. You can play through all of Alan Wake's story to a certain point, and then you can play through all of Saga's up to a certain point. Which I was a little taken back. I got to the point of no return pretty early in the game. I thought I was like, because I was monitoring my trophies, and you can kind of tell what the story trophies are, and I was like 6 behind or so from what the story trophies, and even still, it was like, hey, you might want to go take care of everything, and I was like, oh shit, I'm really that close? Okay. I will be sad. I missed one video that is going to fuck me out of the platinum trophy.
Oh no!
I missed one fucking video.
That happened to me with Hellblade.
Yeah.
Sacrifice. I get one little portal thing. I didn't know where it was. There's no in-game way to find it. And I was like, oh, I guess that's that.
Yep. I can't go backtrack to go get it. I'm bummed. Apparently, it is part of an overall collectible, but the way the trophies work, it keeps track of when each time you get it. So if I started a new save and booked it to that collectible and ignoring all other ones, it would still trigger on a new save. So maybe. I might do that. I might wait. Maybe I'll be fortunate and they'll release like a chapter select.
Well, one of my questions for you was going to kind of ask about the replayability of this game. So it doesn't sound like it's really that kind of a game until you want to just experience the narrative again?
Right.
Okay.
And similar in the Spider-Man 2 vein, it does not have New Game Plus, but it is promised to be coming.
Yep.
And this game also does have 2 DLCs planned. So that, the game, and again, this was a digital only game. I'm going to have this game forever, as long as Sony servers are still up. So I will get that platinum. I'm going to get that platinum.
Did you play, I think it was American Wasteland, Alan Wake's first DLC?
I don't remember because there was one that was a separate game.
Yeah. And that might have been that one. Or American Nightmare, I think is what it was.
Yeah, I think that was a separate game. I don't remember that at all. That was a time period of my life where I played everything. Like I had a GameFly account and I was just cycling in games, and even if they were really bad, I was finishing them.
You sad man.
What?
You sad man.
It was a time in my life where I ate a lot of pizza and I lived with roommates and we just played video games all the time.
You've seen the movie Soul, right? Like the Pixar movie Soul.
Yeah.
You know when the souls are like lost and like, and they're like going through the wasteland and they got to be saved.
Yeah.
I just picture that as you in your 20s, just pizza, Mountain Dew, and video games.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
Not a bad life. Not a bad life.
But back to the game, it is a 5 out of 5. It's
sick of all these 5 out of 5s this year, Nick.
It's the year of them. I am really bummed when we go to choose our game of the year, and I'm going to have to whittle it down to 3 choices.
Yeah, you're gonna have to kill your babies.
Yeah, in a year where I played Persona 5, Spider-Man 2,
Persona 5,
Final Fantasy 16 is like it's there's gonna be some things are gonna have to happen, So and again, this is a highly recommendation from me. You are again benefited if you've played Alan Wake 1, if you've played Control. Those things do come into play in the story a lot. But I think you can play this game on its own and you'd be fine. I think it does a good job of the baby steps through it. So
yeah, I mean your thoughts on it has propelled me from probably skipping it into most definitely checking it out. I don't know if it's honestly probably going to be a 2024 game that I buy on sale at some point, but I mean I'm excited to check it out. I do want to say you mentioned earlier off podcast that you wish the gameplay was a little better.
Oh, I did have that in my notes and I forgot to mention that.
Kind of talk a little more about that.
It doesn't. The gameplay is what it is. The flashlight and the third person shooting, it never feels great. But sometimes in games like this, like akin to the original Resident Evil games, how like the tanky controls kind of just ratcheted up the fear. Mm-hmm. And I think same here. Like it plays like Resident Evil 4. I think Resident Evil 4's shooting felt better. Like it felt tighter. I felt like I was able to pull off more headshots.
Yeah.
But also the enemies in this move so fast. I mentioned the wolves last week, and just normal taken enemies, as they're referred to, have the ability to basically move like the Flash. And they're ranged enemies, so they're not like getting up in your face, but their ability to move so fast really makes it hard to shoot them. And you will find yourself in situations in this game where ammo is an issue.
Yeah.
And I think I think, again, it's a survival horror game. It kind of works in its favor. You know, if this was any other type of game, you'd probably not like it at all. You know, if there was a bigger focus on shooting, a bigger focus on more enemies, and that was like a major mechanic. But I think because it's a horror game, it's just acceptable enough to like.
That's fair. I mean, you know, when I feel like every game, when they start making it, you kind of put most of your eggs in one basket. You know, you want to spread those eggs out and have everything be great. But first and foremost, it sounds like narrative was what needed to be accomplished. I was hoping that a little more of the control, like, because control controls so great. Like it really feels good, especially. That was really my first Remedy game, I think, where I played the whole thing. And from what I heard about Alan Wake, the first one, about how horrible that gameplay experience was, I was kind of surprised. Yeah. And so I was hoping that maybe translated a little bit better. But it sounds like as long as you know, you don't go into a walking simulator game expecting to like shoot things. Right. So like, go in with the right expectations, and sounds like it does exactly what it's trying to do. Yeah,
it is a weird contrast because control, the amount of movement abilities and just like supernatural abilities you get in Control to this game, which is so basic weapons, basic flashlight.
But that being said, you would lose the spookiness if all of a sudden you're overpowered. Right. It's like playing Outlast. Outlast is only scary because you can't do anything. Right. You can't combat against the bad guys. So makes sense.
Yeah. So, but it's great. It's what a great game, and continuing this awesome year as you mentioned of must-play titles. This is I think my 21st game I beat this year.
Man.
Yeah, 21. That's in 11 games from this year, which is typically not the case.
It's a good split. It's almost 50-50. Yeah. So you need to play one game not from this year, and then you're good. So Neon White, Nick, time to beat it.
Yeah, I'm sure one will come up.
Yeah.
Still got 2 months. So
well, speaking of great games this year, Nick, I got one. I got one too, and I've mentioned it on the show, but I've been able to put a lot more time into it. So I just want to kind of talk a little bit about it, my thoughts. I don't think I'm going to ever fully review this game because it is a little bit smaller, but it's still incredibly fun, and I want to at least give it a little bit of shine. And that's Dave the Diver, which came out this year. I really should have looked up the studio that did it, but I didn't because I'm a moron. But I'll get you that here in a second. But just wanted to talk about the level of charm that this game has and everything that it sets out to do. It does so well. So, this is one of those indie games where you don't go into it expecting a ton of story. In fact, there's really not a story. It's simply about the loop. And this game got me kind of thinking about how satisfying a loop can be in games like these where you just, the one more run games, right? Civilizations, Returnal, a lot of roguelikes, things like that. Like that type of stuff just really scratches an itch with me. And this game does it better than most. You're playing as a diver who kind of, he goes to this hole that has this ability to change itself every time you go into, so you're going to constantly see new areas. It's roguelike in and of itself. But you go down there, you have a limited amount of oxygen, you have your spear, your gun, and you just try and basically fill up your pack to get back up to the top to give all that fish to a sushi man who, his name is Bancho, and he is basically, Sam Jackson, but with a lot more charm and style, and he makes sushi. He makes sushi that you then serve to guests on the nighttime. So as you can already see, it's got a daytime cycle, nighttime cycle, where you're doing different things entirely. But what I think this game really does is it just is constantly adding new mechanics and pushing the envelope for what you're kind of expecting to get into. It's chill by nature, so inherently when you're going into your fishing mode, you're kind of like capture fish, you shoot your little. You shoot your rifle, and you put them in your bag, and it's all fun and whatnot. But you get to the sushi thing, and it's like kind of high strung, where you have all these people you've hired. You got Bancho cooking the sushi. You got to go grab it. You got to fill up people's tea. You got to pour them beer. You got these like high critics that are like there making sure everything's fine. So you want to appease them. But it's really well thought out and perfectly balanced. While it's not in the way that it's not trying to do too much. You're not. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. Sometimes you've hired the right people that have the right skills that they take care of everything, and you sit back and you just watch your money tick up, and then once you get your $2,000, you can go buy better guns, buy better spears, buy a better oxygen tank to go further down into the depths, because that's the diving mechanic is like, you start every time at 1 meter deep, and you can just go, think of Subnautica, right? You just go down, 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 down. But then it just keeps throwing so many things at you where there's, like I said, the staff management system. Night fishing eventually opens up, which allows you to catch a whole brand new section of fish, makes it seem a lot spookier. Because there are also like sharks and things that are kind of treading these waters as well that like, you can knock them out and make them sushi. But like if they touch you, you're basically fucked and you're going to lose all your oxygen. You're going to, basically end the day with no fish caught. And then Bancho's going to be real sad. And we don't want to make Bancho sad. He gets mad. But yeah, you just kind of, you set out with a goal to get the fish, right? There might be some like special event for the day where it's like the jellyfish festival and you got to go collect a bunch of jellyfish because like people are going to want to eat jellyfish and like it seems really chill. But then you're going and then you come across this shipwreck and it's these sea people creatures and you got to find a translation tome and allow yourself to communicate with them. And then once you communicate with them, you find out that this giant boxing crawfish has been terrorizing their place for a while and you got to go save them. And it just keeps ratcheting it up so that you're never tired of what you're doing. You're never sick of, kind of that loop that is driving the game. It's the engine for the game. Never makes it feel dull because you're constantly ratcheting up what you're able to do and the things that you have the ability to do. And that's on top of everything else, which is just amazing pixel art. I would highly encourage anybody that wants to just get a vibe check on this game, just go to YouTube, type in Bancho cutscenes, and you'll get all these amazing, they're all 20, 30 seconds, but it just, you can sense the personality and you can feel the personality through it, which I think is why this game is because it's sitting at a 90 on OpenCritic, and that was, obviously the initial motivation to go check it out. And then when I saw that it was coming to Switch, I had to see for myself, and $20, super cheap for what it is. But unfortunately, this game's not on PlayStation right now. I would imagine that it will eventually get there. It's one of those games. Yeah, it's just one of those indie darlings that's going to kind of make its way. I'm imagining that
this year's Neon White.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine that the development team is probably a little bit smaller. But I would highly, highly recommend this game to anybody who likes kind of the more small scale indie type games, low stress, but a lot of fun. And something that I was kind of surprised to see is I wanted to kind of just gauge how long this game would take to beat. 35 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Which, it is. I personally have a hard time with games like these making them my main game. Like these type of games for me is the perfect Switch. It's a Switch game, right? Or just I got 20 minutes to play, I can do a dive, and so I don't plan on beating this. In the next week or two. I just plan on picking away at it here and there. It's a chill experience, but super, super enjoyable. I really in another year, this would probably be a Game of the Year contender for me. It's not that it misses on some things. There's some dives where I'm just not feeling it. Whatever the case.
I was going to ask you, does this dethrone Sea of Stars
for Indie Game of the Year?
Indie Game of the Year?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. And it might as I get further. I'm probably 15, 20 hours in, and so if it can keep delighting me and just surprising me with its charm and its level of, I'm telling you, man, these cutscenes are so fucking charming. If it can keep doing that, maybe. But Sea of Stars, I think, is just when I look at the game, like you said about Alan Wake, that leaves an impact that lets you remember the moment-to-moment things that you've done throughout. I think Sea of Stars is definitely going to have a heavier impact. Characters are obviously better. Pixel art, both are gorgeous, but Sea of Stars is a little edge there. So it's a competition, but my gut tells me right now probably Sea of Stars is a little bit of an edge.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then this is one of the worst mechanics in video games, in my opinion, and that is managing oxygen while underwater. Mm-hmm. How does it feel in this game?
Very good.
Okay.
That I agree. I think managing oxygen sucks. That's the reason that I love Borderlands 2, hated the pre-sequel, because I don't want to manage my air. Very, very lenient. So as you dive down, you don't have health, right? So if you get hit by a fish that's attacking or aggressive, it just takes away your oxygen. But there are throughout the the procedurally generated underwater area, there's little oxygen tanks just scattered here and there. They're pretty lenient with it. I have never run out of oxygen based on just running out of oxygen. It's only ever been a shark has just got my fucking number. Because, as you can imagine, there's an encumbrance system where you can level up the amount of weight that you can carry, and as you get up to that like 60 kilogram mark, you can go over it, but you slow down you slow down substantially. And while that's normally not an issue, if you're carrying a ton of things and you run into a shark, he's going to kill you. So you kind of need to play that balance. And one thing that's nice as well is you don't have to just swim right back up to the top to leave. Like they have these little pods that are kind of scattered throughout too that are like instant escape pods. So like you can really play with it to allow yourself to not have that stress, because like that dude, I agree, that's the worst. And even when you get lower, there's oxygen pods and these little like they look like clamshells that you'd find like pearls in. You can open those refill your oxygen. There's chests littered throughout the underwater that you can get like items, which some make you swim faster, like the little boards that you can hold onto. You got those. You got oxygen tanks in there too that you can use with the tap of a button. So it really wants you to spend as much time underwater just like being chill and getting the things you need to get, and making sure that you're pushing the just pushing the limit further, right? You're getting further in the game. You're not just, I've had 6 straight dives and I haven't gotten to the point that I was at. Like, no, they're making sure you are, and it's pretty chill and pretty pretty pleasurable in that regard. So, I think this is, if and when this does come to PlayStation, if it's got a good trophy system, I'll rebuy it. Like it's one of those, but. Yeah, Dave the Diver, shout out. Oh, I did look. It is developed by Mint Rocket. Came out, last October on PC, Switch this year. So, good shit, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll hear an announcement soon then.
Probably, yeah.
I think it was, we'll wait. It was
it was
also it was in the summer, no, and then by the winter it was like 6 months.
Yeah, you're right.
so we'll probably have an announcement for other consoles.
Maybe some Game Awards stuff. Maybe like a quick little thing. True. Because it's going to get, I imagine it'll get 1 or 2 nominations. It's not going to get,
for sure.
Anything huge. But
it'll definitely be an indie game nom. So,
which is interesting, because if it came out last October, it should have been.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
I don't know. We'll have to, maybe it was early access or something. I don't know, but we'll keep our eyes.
Yeah, something's funky because OpenCritic considers it a game
It does
this year.
consider it this year, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it was something early access type. All right. Well, let's move on to our third topic, and I wanted to revisit our 2023 predictions. If you remember all the way back into our first episode of the year, John and I both placed 3 predictions for the year, and the year's not up, but I wanted to discuss them, and, do they have the likelihood? Because really, the only big event for something to happen is the Game Awards going forward, so let's revisit them. Let's see how close we are. John does not remember his predictions, so that is also a fun fact. So he doesn't remember any of them.
I smoke too much.
Yeah. So what do you want to go first with? Do you want to go with a Nick prediction or a John prediction?
Let's go with me. Let's do it.
All right. John's.
Wait, before. Did we get any right?
Oh, we will find out.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. John's first prediction, I will break up into 2 parts. Okay. All right. The first one is John thought the Last of Us television show was going to do very, very well. And so I said, well, how would we measure that? And we said that it would win Best Adaptation at the Game Awards. That is a category. So that's for any video game that's turned into a television show or movie.
Feeling good about that.
So you think even still, because obviously there's no other video game property going to be releasing soon.
No, it's Last of Us and Mario. It's those 2.
Yeah, and it should be Last of Us.
It better be. I mean, Mario's fine, but no. If we're talking quality,
yeah. So we think that is a lock.
Yeah.
The second half of his prediction was, after the show ended in March, that Sony would announce an event of some kind in which they would show off Last of Us factions for a summer release. Not feeling good about that one anymore, are we?
Nobody's feeling good about factions. Nobody's feeling good. Druckmann's not even feeling good.
So I think it's safe to say you'll get a half point there. You'll definitely get the best adaptation. And
yeah, I feel like I remember talking to that, like Pedro, Bella, Nick, and then Anna Torv would all get nominations at the Emmys too, and I believe they did. I know my media.
Yeah, and So boy, it's hard to think that was earlier this year. Is that we got to experience that whole thing?
The Last of Us has had quite a year, both good and bad. Both good and bad.
Yes. All right, so we'll move into my first prediction, and we're gonna save half of this for our bonus episode, and you'll know why in a second. But my first prediction was that Spider-Man 2 will feature co-op. So I was wrong about that.
Yep.
The second part of my prediction was that Venom will be playable and the game will tease the multiverse for Spider-Man 3 or its half sequel, aka Miles Morales. So we'll save the story points for the bonus episode. We'll revisit those there. But obviously I was wrong. No co-op.
Yeah, that was a hot rumor for a bit, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, it teased two Spider-Man taking down multiple people, so you would think.
I think there was that like somebody scrubbing Spider-Man 1 data, and there was like something that said Player 2. And
right.
So I was, ooh, what's that? But yeah, that would have been really hard to pull off. Thinking about it now.
Do you think this franchise will ever have co-op? Sunset Overdrive did have a multiplayer mode. But Insomniac has not visited, I believe, any kind of multiplayer since then.
It's interesting because I think it would have to. I don't think it could be couch co-op. I don't think that's possible.
No.
So it could be online. But like, why would they even do that? You know, if you're playing Spider-Man, you're playing story beats and you're playing.
I think that's the big part is how cinematic it is that you cannot do those missions.
They'd have to make a standalone game mode that's like
that mission
clean up New York, where you and another guy you go clean up 100 crimes or something, or whatever, or like they could make a Actually, one something that I could see being kind of fun is like almost Exoprimal-esque, where it's like you and another Spider-Man are going against another Spider-Man team, and like who can clear out the bad guys quicker or something. You could do something like that. But
it'd have to be its own side thing. It couldn't be you couldn't both exist in the world because I think like you said, I think like we saw at the PlayStation Showcase, the lizard chase on the water, like that just does not work with two people at all. So. Or
if they went fucking batshit crazy with it and went like Capcom style, like we made a standalone co-op mode. It's like okay, we Resident Evil, we made VR mode, this mode, that mode, but I think that's too much for too little payoff.
Yep, you're probably right there. All right, so into John's second prediction, the Switch 2 will be revealed at E3, in quotes, summer. And we'll have a launch title of Metroid Prime 4. Now, obviously, that is 100% wrong. Is there any chance a Switch 2 will be revealed at the Game Awards? Keep in mind, the Xbox Series X was shown off at the Game Awards. Is there any chance Nintendo would use this opportunity to announce a Switch 2?
Nah, dude. Nintendo beats to their own drum. Microsoft showing up at the Game Awards is very... It makes sense to me. Like, there's more eyes on here. We don't really have much of an identity. No shade thrown at Microsoft, but out of the three console manufacturers, they definitely had the least identity. So showing up there makes a little bit more sense than Nintendo. Nintendo's going to have their own direct. That's what they're going to do. They every time they talk about their shit, it's a direct.
Yeah, and again, it's the Game Awards is December 7th. They want you buying Switches for Christmas,
right?
So it's not going to happen. If there is a Switch 4 next year, it'll be announced, on their own time and in a very short turnaround, I imagine.
Yeah.
All right. Now, my prediction number 2 was that Blue Point, hot off the Demon's Souls remake, is in fact making a Metal Gear Solid remake that would be announced this year. Nope. That is, as John argued, when I made that point, he brought up the Metal Gear Solid 3 rumor, which we now know to be Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Yeah.
That we just saw at the Microsoft partner event running in Unreal Engine 5. So odds are there are not two remakes running at the same time. So
weird.
So I imagine, the announcement of Metal Gear Solid Delta is the only remake in development right now. So what Blue Point is doing is still a mystery.
Yes or no, Nick? I want one word answer. Does Konami fuck up this remake?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Though they just did a video with David Hayter promoting the the collection that just came out. And I was like, oh, okay, they're working with David Hayter. That's a good start.
Yeah, the collection's got some issues of its own.
Yeah, but no, I don't. No, they will not stick this landing.
Okay.
Who knows when that game will come out, and when it does, it will not.
It's gonna get fucking canceled. We'll see.
Yeah,
It's gonna get scale bounded.
I mean, what we saw in that Unreal Engine, the game running is just so little.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I mean, that
little.
means nothing. That means nothing. Yeah. Does Konami still have the ability to even make a AAA product anymore? I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right, John. Is your brain tingling at all? Are you remembering what your final prediction was?
No, but I remembered immediately as soon as you started talking about my last two, so I'm sure the same thing. I'll start laughing.
All right. Your final prediction was involving Sony San Diego, and that they are working on an Uncharted game starring Drake's daughter Cassie, coming 2024. Now, was this before we saw the video with the girl in the tomb? I think it was.
It was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that prediction still has very much a chance to come true in 2024. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the Sony San Diego part.
Right.
That could be a Ben, that could be many other people, but I mean, you didn't have Cass or some female in a tomb in a teaser for fucking nothing, right?
Right.
You didn't do that. So 100% that game exists. When we see it, when we hear about it, who knows? But
I mean, do you think the Game Awards is a good place?
That's a good bet. That's a good bet.
Yeah.
Feels right.
Yeah, especially if it is, any chance of early next year.
It's a known quantity. Uncharted is going to get a lot of applause. It's going to get a big impact. I mean, it's showing, Sony needs to talk about their games, and Uncharted is, it's not a new IP, so they're not going to be blowing, I don't know. It just seems like, here it is, Uncharted 5, have fun, Cassie, go. And then that's really all you really
You think
need.
it will be branded as Uncharted 5?
No.
Yeah, I don't if it's not Naughty Dog, I don't think it'll be Uncharted
No.
5. It'll be Uncharted subcolon.
Uncharted, Cassie's Revenge.
Yeah. So there's still a chance on that one.
Yep.
So we'll see. The Game Awards might bring it. And then my final prediction was that the PlayStation 5 will get a UI overhaul with the home screen getting more vertical, more customization, personalization options, Discord integration. Didn't happen. The cross-media bar or the current PlayStation 5 UI is still the same.
Got an overhaul, just not a UI overhaul. Got that slim overhaul.
Yeah, the PlayStation 5 hardware did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still surprised that they're not leading toward that kind of stuff still.
It's interesting. Like I remember when we got our hands on that thing, and it did take some getting used to. And I remember the general sentiment from everybody was they didn't really like the UI, but I think everybody's gotten used to it at this point. So it's almost more, customizing options is always great, but if you're just gonna change it, I think
Right.
just keep it. At this point, I remember I know the organ, up down wherever I got to go to get to the power off and all that good stuff. So
Yeah. So you currently like how it is? Do you want it to change?
no, I don't want it to change at this point.
really?
No, I like it.
Okay.
I mean, I was actually thinking about this the other day, a function that I would like, because now that my son is getting more into his, individual with his gaming, where he's actually playing on his own profile now, he's not on mine, he's doing all that stuff. It'd be nice to be able to hide or, you can stick specific games to your cross-section bar,
Right.
but you can't hide games. Like when my son's playing Goat Simulator, it's can I just hide that? Get it out of here. That'd be nice.
Right.
But in terms of organization,
Oh, really? When he signs into his profile, launches a game, it moves it to the front of your cross?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's
at least I think there's a chance with him that he plays Neon White on my profile and then goes to his profile. With him, you never know, but I'm 90% sure it does that, which is kind of annoying. So
Okay. I still think it needs some kind of overhaul. I know each game page is very busy with activity cards and the help center, and then your friends playing and any add-ons and videos of the game. It's it's a little busy, but I still think we should be able to control how that looks. But
it would be nice if when you hover on a game, it just some gorgeous type of wallpaper pops up, and,
Right.
Something like that, and You're right. It could be useful, but it's one of those things for me, at least, where I just go,
Right. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The games play great. It's snappy. It's quick.
Yep.
I actually don't have an issue navigating. I don't mind the What's New tab, because it kind of gives you news based on the games you're playing, and then I also I don't have an issue with how the store functions as far as searching on PS5. It seems pretty good.
Yeah.
So that was it.
So I'm leading 1/2 point to nothing.
Yeah, you really are.
With potentials for more.
You pretty much are, yeah. So, we'll, again...
Thank you, Last of
We
Us.
might cover them specifically at the end of the year, but, there's a chance. Like, game announcements are still a chance.
Yeah,
you know,
still possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah, so that's that. All right, to our fourth and final thing. We're going back to the character Battle Royale. And again, I'm urging everyone to vote. We need more votes. We need it to be closer because we did get 2 trounces in last week's battle, in which Fox McCloud trounced Hollow Knight, and to be handily defeated
2B, you're my
Cloud
girl.
Strife.
Thank God.
I'm shocked and
So am
not
I.
shocked.
2B's winning this whole thing, baby. She's winning the whole thing.
Well, she took out one of the heaviest contenders,
Yeah.
but
can't hit her
there are
when
a
she
lot
dodges.
of
You
there's
just
a lot of Sony the big boys that she's got to get through.
I mean, listen. I just don't want Kratos to win. That's it. Because obviously he wins a battle royale with this. But come on. That's all.
Well, we'll find out as we continue to remove fighters week after week. So
We have 32 fighters left.
okay.
Okay, so if we keep going with this 4-fighter a week, we should get through round 1 in another 8 weeks. Which doesn't seem horrible, but that's just round 1. So
Okay. Yeah.
but anyway, so this week we have. Let me get my. We got Donatello from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise versus Batman. And then we have Cuphead versus Richter Belmont. So a very, very even matchup and then a weird-ass matchup.
Yeah.
But I do believe I went first last week.
You
Nick.
did.
So do you have a preference on which matchup you would like to go for first?
Nope. Either or is fine with me.
All right, well, you start talking and then I'll know.
All right. Well, I guess we'll start with the easy one.
The easy.
The Batman.
All right. Go ahead whenever.
All right, the Dark Knight, the master of fear, the master of gadgets. This is a video game podcast, so I'm going to ignore the movies and everything. But his trilogy has a 91 on Metacritic. That's how good Batman is. And I mentioned gadgets. He has access to explosive gel, batarangs, bat claws, freeze grenades, grapple guns, smoke bombs. The Batmobile, the Batplane, he is a master detective. He's a master planner.
Masturbator.
And, Donatello comes from kind of the same school, trained in ninja, trained in being a ninja, trained in stealth. But we all know who the better character of that all is. And it, of course, is Batman. Donatello just does not stand a chance. He is outmatched in every field that Donatello excels at, even as a member of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that is why Batman will win.
All right. Reset here. All right, Nick. Now, I heard a lot about who's the better character. That's not what we're arguing here today, Nick. We're arguing who's going to win in a fight. And
Same thing.
This is a very, very even matchup. This is going to be fought in the trenches. It's going to be very, very even. Possibly one of the most even matchups we have in general. But unfortunately for Batman, I think Donatello does have the edge in a couple ways. First and foremost, he's got the genius level intellect. I know Batman has that as well, but I just want to make sure that we're on the same playing ground with that. We're on the same playing ground. Batman's not going to out-prepare him because they're the equal smarts. What Donatello has, he's got Toon Force, which is super, super important. He can basically create things because he is a cartoon. Batman is a man, so he's not going to be able to, use Toon Force. And then secondly, and this is most important, Martha. All Donatello has to say is Martha, and then Batman's going to go, huh? Martha? What? And then he's going to stop fighting. And then Donatello's going to be able to just hit him upside the head with his bow staff or whatever he has to do because for whatever reason, Batman hears the word Martha and he just shuts down. So very even fight, but Donatello comes out on top.
Where the fuck did you come up with Toon Force?
Toon Force? That's a known thing. Toon Force. He's a cartoon. Listen, man, I'm trying to find something, okay? He's got cartoon physics. But Martha, that's Martha.
Yeah. Martha Wayne is
Martha.
is Bruce Wayne's mom. So that
If you don't get
the
that
horrible reference to Batman vs Superman.
Yep. Yeah, because he's choking out he's choking out Superman.
Yeah.
And just protect Martha for me or something.
Yeah. Horrible movie.
Dumb stuff.
I like to forget, but John brought it back. But
well, you're only as great as your weakest moments, and Batman's moments.
But believe me, I'm gonna use Toon Force on you every time. That's like
cool.
Roger Rabbit level of silliness.
if everybody writes in and votes for Donatello and they say, well, because Toon Force, then that's fair. That's fair.
All right.
I have a timer for Cuphead when you're ready.
All right, Cuphead. Speaking of Toon Force, if there was a master of Toon Force, it would definitely be Cuphead, one of the most pretty tunes video games out there. Cuphead was able to convince the devil to make a bargain with him to collect on all of his soul contracts. And Cuphead did it. He trained, and he went, and he did it. He took on all the big baddies of the video game Cuphead. He's got a array of moves, all involving his finger. Mm-hmm. And the finger gun, he's able to do a pea shooter, spread, chaser, lobber, charge, roundabout. So any move Richter Belmont tries to pull on him, he has a bullet specifically for that instance. He also has the parry slap. He's a master pilot. And when he pours his head over, it turns into a giant energy beam. Like that sounds dangerous to me. So, and also he can tap into the astral plane for invincibility. It's one of his master moves.
Nice. Good one, Nick. Yeah, his energy, it's like Venusaur's solar beam. All right, let's see. Go away. Okay. Richter Belmont, arguably the strongest of all the entire Belmont clan. We're talking legendary vampire hunters here. Now, when it comes to this fight, Nick, I think it's important to note, being that Hollow Knight lost to Fox, due to his size, Cuphead is 2 feet tall and weighs 13 pounds. I don't care how strong his finger is. He's not going to be able to take on a 5 foot 965-pound vampire hunter who's killed Dracula. And have you seen the devil from Cuphead, Nick? He's a doofus. He's a look at that guy. He's like the skinniest, weirdest looking devil you've ever seen. So I don't think there's anything to be worried about with him. Let's talk about the enemies that we fight. Cuphead's fighting a carrot. He's fighting candy corn. He's fighting poker chips. He's fighting a flower. Richter Belmont is fighting vampires and golems and demons and dragons and man-eating plants. All sorts of crazy fucking things. That Cuphead would just shit his pants if he saw. So I don't think he has to worry about his pew pew finger when he's got his vampire killing whip to slap that cup in the face. All right. There we go.
All right.
All right.
See how that goes.
So everybody, as Nick said, vote. Please vote.
Yes.
And we are for the year. I think I have a slight edge with.
You're beating that
I've got
one.
7 victories. Nick's got 5. So, vote for whoever you think's best. All right, and now for next week. You want first or second, Nick?
I'll go first.
Okay. Randomize. Donkey Kong.
God.
DK. Donkey Kong.
I'm reviewing this list harder next time. We're reviewing so many Nintendo characters.
Yeah, it's because they're fucking
I've had
famous.
every one of them. This is my 4th Nintendo character.
Well, you should buy a Switch then, so you can familiarize.
Yeah, this is my penance.
Because you've had Mario, Donkey Kong, Pikachu,
Star Fox,
and Star Fox,
or Fox McCloud.
You're playing the Super Smash Brothers roster.
Yeah.
All right, and then I got Joker from Persona 5.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good fighter. That's a good
so
choice.
that pick passes your test.
Yeah, that pick is good.
Okay, that's a good pick.
That's a good
Cool.
video
All right,
pick.
good.
Yeah.
All right, and then for matchup number 2, Nicholas, Mega Man.
Oh, okay, that's
Mega
good
Man.
One. I like Mega Man.
And then for me, Link.
Ooh, there you go. I guess
I got a Nintendo character.
Ugh.
So a couple heavy hitters.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Donkey Kong, Link, Mega Man, and who was the 4th one? And Joker. Some good games.
So again, we'll post these on our Twitter feed the day after the show is posted. But you can also email in if you want to weigh in. And again, we will read your arguments for which character will win. So please do that. Spread the word. You know, you don't have to listen to the show to vote necessarily. But if you think any of us made a convincing argument, you know, tell people to listen. So, all right. So that's it. We only had the 4 things for you today. Again, we're going to have that bonus episode later this week for you to listen to if you've completed Spider-Man 2, or if you just want to listen. You know, maybe you don't plan on playing it, which is horrible. Don't be that person.
Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't play Spider-Man 2, I don't know what kind of person you are.
Yeah. So, all right. Do we anything to tease for next week? I know John's got a very special tease because you know, we haven't missed a lot of games this year. Diablo 4 is definitely one of them, which we had no input other than we played the beta. But there was another game that we missed that was kind of big.
Yeah, I was wanting to play this, but just I think due to the glut of games that kind of surrounded it and just not really having the time, I kind of passed it. But you know, I love Elden Ring so much and the whole Soulsborne franchise. So figured Armored Core 6 is, you know, got to check it out. And I found myself at like a local used video game store, had some trade-in credit, and it was sitting there for $45. Thought, you know, now's the time. So I don't know my plan though, because I am still balls deep in Cyberpunk. I don't, you know, I already paused that playthrough for Spider-Man 2. I don't think I should pause it again for Armored Core. So we'll see. But needless to say, I'm going to get to it definitely before the end of the year, so that we can have that in Game of the Year discussions and things like that.
Yeah. Like I said, it's kind of this you know, hole in our podcast, and you haven't played any of the other ones either.
No.
So you're coming from the Soulsborne fan that trusts so much in From Software that they produced a cool mech game.
I will say, I mean, I popped it in, played about 5 minutes. It is definitely cool.
Okay.
That's for sure. I don't know. Yeah, we'll just see because from what I can remember about the review cycle of that one is that it's really hard until it's not. Like you can really kind of game the game by building a mech that just is tailored perfectly, but that's kind of appealing, honestly, because like I don't want to beat my head against bosses really right at this moment. So if I can figure out a way to just I think Donkey said double Gatling guns, just like got me through the whole game. So we'll see. But
there's certain builds that'll let you cheese it, but maybe you'll play it and you'll just find one that's fun to play.
Exactly.
The cheesy build, you know. But I think From Software is really good about not having difficulties, but making in-game builds a way to kind of cheese the game if you so choose. You know, we saw that with Elden Ring, that a lot of people were going to certain weapons, certain summons, the mimic, and stuff like that. And Armored Core 6 seems to be the same way. So
it's got a pretty shitty trophy. I'm looking at the trophy guide right now. 8 out of 10.
Oh boy.
Got to get S ranks on everything. 11 missable trophies. I don't know about that, but you know, unless if it's just one of those, you know, if it neon whites me.
Yeah, I wonder what would be missable, considering you can replay missions in this. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess John will let us know. But
sure.
I heard that the S ranking a mission is obtuse. Like you don't know what the requirements to get an S rank in a mission are. So.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it says number of missable trophies 11. Make sure you follow the roadmap steps exactly to not miss anything.
Oh boy.
To unlock all missions, you must pick the new ones on each playthrough. I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know.
So John will have some thoughts on that. He'll hopefully have some bigger thoughts on Cyberpunk. I'm always happy to hear you talk about Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And then I don't think there's really anything on the game front for a minute here, so we'll be tapping into some topics.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, this is the fun, you know, game of the year time. You know, this is one of my favorite times of the year for video games, is just kind of recapping the year, what stood out, you know, not only what were the best games of the year, but talking about the best performances and best boss fights and best all that good stuff. I love all that. I love all of it. So
we're definitely counting down to the Game Award nominees. I'm weirdly excited to watch that. Jeff Keighley usually does a live show for that, and I usually just don't care. But this year is just so stacked that I just want to know.
I got Hades 2 last year, man. I mean, you know, I don't think you can.
No, I'm talking about just even he does a live show for the nominees.
Oh, just the nominees. Oh,
and I'm just so like enamored with
what.
What
see if we both nailed them.
Yeah, well, not even just game of the year, just like we said, best performance and all the other categories. It's just such a stacked year. It's just like
A lot of things to shout out.
So, and then I have to get back to Baldur's Gate 3. It's like
Yes, you do.
it sucks that I've been over a month kind of like detached from it, and I'm gonna have to go back into the end game and not barely remember what I was doing.
It was rough enough for Cyberpunk for me. It wasn't even rough. It took me 10 minutes to reacquaint myself, but even then I was just like, fuck, I gotta, what does cool do again? What does tech do again? It's like, I gotta just reread everything. It's like, God damn it. So.
Yeah, that's kind of why I prefer to, play video games all the way through, but with Baldur's Gate's, enormous length and just, again, the glut of releases this year is just like, well, that ain't happening. So,
yep.
All right. So, John, what do you got? What's the song?
All right. So the song for us today, just because Spider-Man 2 has been, occupying my brain and the soundtrack's pretty fucking dope. It's actually kind of a remix of my last song choice, but it's the final song in the soundtrack called "In Full Swing," the Sirkin remix. It's just another banger. When you hear these songs in these soundtracks, they all kind of have the same vibe to it, at least these type of it. But
is it Joe Paisano?
John Paisano.
John Paisano.
Yeah, John May Paisano did the soundtrack, did another incredible job like he did with the first one.
Oh yeah, the soundtrack.
He will get a Game of the Year. He'll get a nomination. For sure.
Oh yeah, you think for best music?
Yeah, he'll get a nomination.
Yeah,
I think.
And it'll be great to hear the Game Awards Orchestra. Hopefully, our guy on the piccolo last year.
Fuck yeah.
Playing some Spider-Man tunes, probably playing this one.
Guy. Sorry, I responded to you just like, oh yeah, of course I know what you're talking about, but I don't. But yeah, dude, that guy got into it. Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, so enjoy the song again. It is great. It's just, I think what John Paisano really tapped into was the Danny Elfman song from the original Spider-Man trilogy, and the overall vibes of that. They're just kind of iconic Spider-Man.
And he does such a good job of like just joining together Miles and Peter, who they are, but like Miles is the hip hop, that guy, and then Peter's more traditional, and he just merges them together and like, oh, look at that, what do you got?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Great soundtrack, great song. So enjoy that. So that's it. Again, there will be a extra bonus episode in the feed for you to enjoy this week. But after that, we'll be back next week with Up to 6 Things. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
See you, nerds.